independent of like sponsorship, we're all in the same company. And we all are shareholders. The way you incentivize people dictates behavior and it influences behavior. This is right here is a bunch of owners talking to each other. And that's wild because in other models, it's basically hierarchical and that's not the case. There's like one dude or one woman who owns everything and we're just like renting our business.
It's been an awesome experience and it was the transition far exceeded expectations, which is very tough when you're transitioning to team owner. So
I think underneath, even though you can be very successful and good at something, whenever you learn something new or jump into something new, there's like fear, doubt, and worry.
Oh, for sure.
Which I think as someone who's been doing something well at a high level for a long time, it's actually probably feels really good to feel that again.
It does.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it's exciting. You're like, oh man, like this is cool. Like, yeah, I got to go to work. I got to figure this out. Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been awesome. The leadership team has been amazing. We've been able to get one-on-one with them and they're just like, how can we help you? We want to support your business. We want to help you grow. Yeah. Lars has been great. Like,
yeah, he's all right.
Sunday, he helped me. Like,
he's all right.
I'm like,
yeah.
I gotta get Stroker across the finish line here.
Well, I mean, you're without like, I don't even know the guy, but you sent me the text from your OP or marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy just laid it on.
Oh, did heavy?
Like,
heavy?
The heaviest.
The heaviest you've ever seen?
Yeah, it was bad.
Just like, so bad.
He ended it with, I feel sorry for you. I'm like, I would never talk that way to somebody.
No.
But it really reveals. We have this guy coming over. So when I first came over, this person that came over, I won't name names because someone can figure it out or something. But essentially, this guy who I was talking to had two guys in his life that he respected. It was me and this other guy. So we had a three-way call, and that went fine. But then it was just me and this other guy. I talked to him, and basically I said, you know, Jimmy, let's call him. Can you tell me one thing that's good about eXp?
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah.
And he said, I cannot tell you one thing that's good about eXp. I'm like, not one thing. The fact that we don't have overhead, or the fact that like rev share pays out 10 times more than profit share, and I went through like 10 things that could be your one thing. And I'm like, you can't come up with one thing.
Yeah.
And I said, Jimmy, it is clear to me that you cannot possibly be looking out for this agent because you're so blinded by what you're in, because you're so entrenched. Owning multiple. Well, here's the kicker. He's coming over.
Is he? That's fantastic. So what I think is interesting.
4 years later.
Yeah.
And he unraveled all this
all
stuff,
of it.
this mess that he was in, multiple market centers and different, business deals that he's made with different agents to keep them in. And, that's all unraveling now. And he realized this is the only platform you can build on.
Yeah. I think there's a saying that says like, it's very difficult for somebody to understand something when their livelihood is dependent on them not understanding it. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
It's very difficult. So I think the main barrier to this is the stronghold of like lies that we tell ourselves. It's usually pride. It's usually ego. But once you can like objectively kind of unemotionally seek out truth and say like, hey, long term, what is a platform that somebody like you can build on top of that gives you multiple different ways to get compensated? And as you were referring to, it's like when somebody can't tell you one good thing, that means their mind's not open.
Right.
And they've actually haven't studied it. And when you said that, it reminded me, I talked to the regional owner and I said that to him and he said something similar. I'm like, okay, you haven't thought about it. And then you know what I said to him? I'm like, well, that other thing, like that royalty fee, it's like top line revenue. Office doesn't have to be profitable in order to get it. Where does that go? He's like, well, it goes over here. I'm like, yeah. You know what another word for top line revenue is? He's like, what? I'm like, revenue share. Yeah. And he stopped in his tracks. He's like, well, I guess you could think about it that way. I'm like, no, that's exactly what that is. You know what I'm saying?
You guess.
Yeah.
Literally that.
Yeah.
But even the way your analogy around YouTube, like, did anyone get pissed at YouTube for sharing half their revenue to bring creators to bring their content on the platform?
Right.
It's like, that's revenue share.
Yeah. And I asked,
like, why are you so pissed at our model?
Yeah.
And that was me.
Yeah.
Being pissed at the model.
I know.
Like, and I had this whole thing around multi-level marketing and
based on a previous experience.
Based on a very specific experience that I had. And I just was totally close to it.
Yeah.
Until you're not.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I can keep grinding out this way of doing business, or I can just be open to something different and get to work. And it is scary because it's a different, like I was saying, it's a different part of your day that you have to dedicate some time and awareness to now opening up your social to talk in a way that agents will connect to versus just looking for buyers and sellers or whatnot. But
As an entrepreneur, though, you got to be able to separate yourself a little bit from these different things that you get stuck into. So I feel like when you're able to do that, then you can really open up your mind. Like, okay, let me look at this eXp model,
Sure.
as opposed to if I was the owner of a market center or what have you. It makes it a lot tougher
Because your livelihood is dependent on you not understanding it.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
We'll talk to someone from like that owns like a Century 21 or something, and they're still holding on.
Still holding on.
Yeah.
Like that to me seems like it's like you still wear those green jackets or the yellow jackets.
That was the first brokerage I belonged to, like Section 21.
Well, and what I think is super interesting is that they don't actually recognize. I think mentally they think like, oh, I'm the broker and Matt's an agent.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this separation. What they definitely don't understand is that this model makes me them.
Right.
So like when I was leaving, the lady, I owned part of a market center. I sold it back in order to participate in the opportunity. Lost a bunch of money selling it back because they're not worth anything. She said something to me which was very interesting in the exit. She's an infinite player. She has a high level of integrity. So she's like, look, if you think this is best, opposite of your experience, if you think this is best for you and your family, best of luck. Now, she did try to throw some doubt bombs. I heard they don't get paid. I heard this, fine. But what she said to me on the exit, she said, hey, I just asked for a professional courtesy. Sure, what do you want? She's like, if any of my agents in my 5 different offices reach out to you, can you just text me and let me know? I said, sure, no problem. She's like, yeah, and I'll do the same for you. I'm like, well, that's cute that you think it's going to go in the opposite way. But you know what that made me realize instantaneously when she said that to me? What this model does is it elevated me to an owner. She's talking to me like an owner, not like an agent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
And that's what this model does.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that.
With none of the buildings,
none of the expenses.
None of the brokers. It is like the coolest way to build either like an expansion model or network, or it's just the most elegant thing.
Yeah,
there ever could be.
That's
I
right.
still do have my own office space that I pay for.
Yeah. Well, and here's what's interesting is like, I think what this allows you to do at this stage in your career and life is to really, and Lars did help me with this when I made that transition, is to really think about like, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And what he told me is, it was what he said to me, which I think is applicable to you. He's like, look, dude, money's never going to be a problem, right? It's never going to be a problem for you because of who you are and what you do. Now it's about time and impact. So how many people can I help and how much time can I reclaim? Because the real issue for a lot of top producers, I feel like there's 2 avatars. One are agents trying to do like up to 100 deals, and they need to be more efficient, more effective. They need better lead gen, script skills, all that, right? The other agent is a really high productive agent that has no time, that works 70 hours a week. So it's really looking at that and saying like, okay, when people tell me that, and I used to be this guy, it's like, yeah, next year I want to do more. And Lars would be like, why? And you're like, I don't know, because that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Right. So really examining that and saying like, hey, redefining what success is. And saying like, hey, what vehicles do I have at my disposal? What new skills can I learn and stack time on top of? And truthfully, I've been with this company for 2.5 years. I went from selling 150 homes a year, coaching 25 people, to I haven't sold a single piece of real estate in 2 years.
That must be nice.
Oh, amen. Hallelujah.
Do you have a team still or no?
No.
Yeah,
And we've built an organization of 358 agents in 2.5 years, all because of changing my mind, changing the way I thought about things and re-examining like what success is. Because we were on a call and Lars was like, he told me like, hey, bring a personal win. And I'm like, why are you even asking me about that, bro? Like, let's talk professional wins. I'm good at that. And I brought back a personal win and I was like, hey, my son was like really excited that I was at his soccer game. And Lars looked right at me through the camera and he's like, that's terrible. And I was like, wow, I'm not used to people talking to me that way. And, but it really made me like evaluate, like, what am I doing?
Right.
And figuring out, I think a lazy mind's answer is to work harder. A more sophisticated mind says, how can I get more with less? How can I use vehicles and leverage to get more with less of my time?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. That's the goal.
So I would encourage you to like really think about that.
Yeah.
And like what you actually want moving forward.
Yeah, rev share is a decision. So there are people that could do it that don't do it.
Because
there are people that you didn't think could do it that are like, how the heck does this person have 1,000 agents?
Yeah.
It's like they just decided to talk to agents about their business and their brokerage and could this be a better platform for you? You should at least talk to my business partner. That's as complicated as the conversation needs to be.
Yeah.
But most agents are afraid, I think fear is
I think it's huge.
A big part of it.
Yeah.
but then also just not making the decision that over time, in 3 to 5 years, I'm going to build this asset, and it's going to take a little bit of work every day.
Right.
And don't let a day pass without working on it.
Yes.
I feel like on the daily, it needs to be just part of your everyday.
Well, that's could be my takeaway from my conversation.
Yeah,
with
just
you.
I'm gonna have every day. I'm gonna have 2 conversations with agents about their real estate business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it may be like, oh crap, where you got to tell your wife like it's 7 p.m. and I haven't had my 2 conversations yet. Give me 20 minutes.
Right.
And then you're just in it. And I made I took a 66-day challenge, and I actually didn't finish it. But I brought 5 agents in as a result. This was after I built, and I was just like, let me see if I can just start building again. Like 5 conversations a day with agents. And I think I got like 30 days in, and I gave up on it, or something happened.
But you
But
got
I
5.
brought like 5 new agents in.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't got to do this anymore. But just like micro commitments on the daily, like just if you're in like crap physical shape, and you haven't tended to that aspect of your life, it's just 10-minute walk every day for the first 30 days.
Yeah.
And then get some momentum.
Well, and I think what you're saying is really important because like, I think thinking is very difficult. So everybody just judges.
Mm-hmm.
The heavy lifting is thinking. I also think that our natural disposition is to think short-term, not long-term. It's the way we're wired for survival. It's the way our brains are wired.
Yep.
So short-term is transactions, long-term is rev share.
Right.
And it's very difficult to like disconnect. And particularly, I see the backstop to this being lifestyle usually for people. They need to make a lot of money selling real estate, right? Because their lifestyle's huge.
Yeah, for sure.
So as a result, it actually is a backstop to long-term thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But to Lars's point, like if you dedicated, I don't know, like 20% of your time to perhaps learning some new skills, doing lunch and learns, talking to agents, that because of the nature of the way that this is, it compounds. So I've only brought 51 people, but that's turned into 358.
Wow.
So imagine like for every 1 listing, you could take 6.
Right.
The other thing that happens is as time progresses, which Lars can tell you because it's happened for him, it ends up looking like an egg.
Mm-hmm.
So that multiple goes to 10x, 15x, 25x, 30x. And I can't.
It's like almost 50x.
Right. And I'm not able to do that. I want inputs and outputs to be disassociated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I can make up for with leverage what I lack in ability. So I'm not physically able to do that in the physical world and in transactions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that transactions are terrible.
Right.
They're wonderful ways of raising cash in a short period of time, but they don't compound and they're not highly leveraged.
Does bring in opportunities.
It might bring in opportunities for like investment, you mean?
Yeah, investment. I mean, so we have a property management company with the real estate sales.
Yeah.
So I just feel like the real estate sales team always brings in opportunities.
Yeah. So,
the other things
and I think it's interesting because I don't know if you heard Brandon. He came over.
Yep.
He's got 22 lines of business.
Yeah.
What I thought was, was fascinating by what he said. Somebody asked him, hey, what's your most profitable line? It was lending money. $60 million a year with 3 employees.
Wow.
Least profitable
was real estate transactions. With the most headache, but it's the entry into that feeds all the other. Yeah. So, but I think he goes into it knowing that. So what he said is like on lead gen, he knows his numbers. He spends like $30,000 a month and only 7% of all of those leads turn into listings because they're his last focus.
Right.
First focus is, can we wholesale this? Can we wholetail it? Can we do all this other stuff?
Right.
Can I lend you money? Okay, fine. We want to list it, we can list it.
Right.
But that's a pivot in thinking.
Yeah.
Where like, oh, this is a loss leader and I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Where
that's my mindset with it.
And you can give away more of your personal production, maybe net like whatever you're netting on the resale stuff, but it'll free you up to get into more leveraged things. Yeah. Well, I mean, what I share with people is it took me to become, so there's like 4 types of millionaires. There's a virtual millionaire, there's a revenue millionaire, there's a liquid millionaire, and then there's an asset millionaire. The easiest one of all of them is a virtual millionaire. Mm-hmm. So if you have $1 million liquid and you spend $1, you still a millionaire? No, you're a $999,000, right? But if you have something that produces, let's say $6,000-$7,000 a month in cash, that's the equivalent of $1 million invested at 6 to 7%. So you are a virtual millionaire. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it took me 5 months with RevShare to become a virtual millionaire.
Wow.
It took me 10 months to become a virtual 2 millionaire. That's unbelievable.
Strictly through RevShare or through social media?
Just through RevShare. Yeah. And I know because we've done that in the physical world, only 4% of businesses ever gross more than $1 million a year. It's really hard. It took me 10 years to do it, right? So It's way easier, much faster, lower friction to become a virtual millionaire. But what the virtual millionaire does is it buys time, right? Because it can cover housing, transportation, food. And that frees me to get rid of like implementing and managing to get into higher level things.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
And then what happens is the virtual, then I can focus on things to become a revenue millionaire, where I can sell courses, I can sell consulting, whatever, and that equals $1 million. If you live below your means, then you'll become a liquid millionaire. One day you'll turn around, you have $1 million in the bank, and you're like, whoa, that's interesting. Then what you do is take that money and become an asset millionaire because it protects the money from people who will take it, which is the government.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
And then it's just rinse and repeat. And then it becomes a machine.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And this is like this awesome pillar that just stands next to you that is frictionless, like on all of those agents. And nobody calls me. They don't call me for like
that's
broker problems or like
2,000 agents, and none of them bother me.
no, like I'm in.
Like I show up once a week for a training.
Yeah,
You know, and
but they don't bother you for paperwork. They don't bother you for
no,
like
yeah, for stuff. I mean, stuff I like to work on, I'm happy to work
Yeah.
on. Like for anything deal related, you know. So it's just, it is worth the time and effort to put into it.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. No, we're super excited.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me know if I can help anyway.
We'll do.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother. I believe that the future of real estate is what you're doing. An agent will be able to provide multiple options and choices, and whatever option you choose, it's perfectly fine. I went to the Clever Summit. Pace invited me there, Morby.